Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Eve.
And I'm Jeanette.
And we're back with a variant. Let me tell you, this is very anticipated, not just by you, but by all of us. We have been wanting to talk about this all summer long, and we have reined it into our chat for this group, and we've gone a little crazy. So we are excited to finally be talking about it. The Summer I Turned Pretty season 2. We are going to be probably comparing to season 1 a bit. We're going to be comparing it to the books, from the books to the show, because there are a lot of differences. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences that you don't think while you're reading or watching, oh, that will make much of a difference. But they make huge differences. The changes that they put in there changes what the possibilities are for next season 2. So we'll be talking about all those things. But first, we just want to dive into the characters. We'll start off discussing some of them.
We're pretty. Let's mention it first. Who is team who? Because we're pretty 50-50 in this group, right?
Sort of.
Excuse me. I have a shirt too.
Like that.
I have a shirt too.
Amanda, I love that design. You have to send it to me. It's just so creative.
There you go. No, I will.
All right.
So
So
late getting on here. It took me a while.
obviously, Jeanette has her team displayed proudly. Amanda, weirdly proud of her shirt design.
Thank you.
Team Conrad. I couldn't read it because it looked too bright, but Amanda's Team Conrad. Jeanette is Team Jeremiah. There we go. Now I can see it. Yep. Team Conrad. Woo.
Yeah.
Who are
Okay.
you?
Team Jellyfish.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was the new name. I'm endgame Team Conrad. I'm Team Jeremiah right now.
Okay.
It's for right now.
Good enough.
I don't like them
feel
together
I
long-term.
get that a lot. No, I totally get it because I'm even as I am completely Team Conrad. I am enjoying
Yeah.
the Jeremiah time that we're getting.
Yes.
I'm enjoying their relationship and I think I'll enjoy their story. But
I will not probably enjoy Conrad's story because I have read the books. So we'll just point that out too. And I am still Jeremiah, even in the books. So
I'm not.
there's that.
I'm not at all. I like the
I
Jeremiah
understand them
TV
both
better
a
than the
lot more.
books. I'll agree with that.
I do like TV. I like TV versions of both of them, of everyone better. I like the TV show better than the books, which I rarely say. TV show's better, I think.
see, usually I like reading books before I ever watch the show or movie or anything. But this time I kind of enjoyed watching the show and then listening to the
That's nice.
books.
Mhm.
And really, since the books are narrated by
That
Yeah.
helped. Yeah.
See,
that
I didn't.
helps
I just
so
read them. I
much.
didn't listen to them.
It really
it
helped.
helps so much because you heard Belly, like
Yeah.
the
It
way
was-
she said things.
It was honestly hard for me, like, as we get into this, I may have to be like, wait, did this happen in the book or the TV show? Because where it's Lola reading it to me, it's like, I
Mhm.
think I pictured it happening in my mind either way.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
I might get confused. We'll see.
Eve, did
Well,
you
I've
read the
never-
books?
I've never read the books, so if it doesn't sound familiar to me, it was in the show.
That'll be perfect.
You
Eve will
should
be
read the
our
books,
official
though.
judge.
Yeah, they are
Like, there's-
good.
There is a lot of, like, when I was listening to the books, there are a lot of lines that are word for word.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that was really interesting to me because usually when books are going from books to movie, you don't get that. You get it very little.
This
when it's actual
adaptation,
lines, but it was like
Yeah.
word for word stuff, and even little bitty stuff
Mhm.
that she would mention in the book would be like in the background of the show.
Yeah,
Like,
there's something in the last episode that I was like, oh, and I didn't care for it. But I was like, well, there's that. Okay.
I think in most TV adaptations,
think I know
the
what you're talking
writer of the series is not as involved in the script as Jenny Han
Mhm.
is. Yeah,
True.
that's
she
probably
was
why.
extremely involved. I think that was awesome.
Because I think she's one of the showrunners, right? As
Mhm.
well.
I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she was even
And-
making TikToks about, oh, you think these songs only play with there, but so she has a hand in even choosing the music for scenes too.
And I
This is
didn't
what
even
we-
know she was to all the boys I've loved before.
My daughter kept putting her out in those movies, like, oh, there's
She
there's
always
Jenny
makes
Han.
an appearance. Yeah. Yeah.
I never didn't even know it.
Yeah.
until about halfway through.
Mhm.
All right, so
That
let's
makes sense.
dig into the characters. Who do you want to start with?
I think we got to start with Belly. Don't we have to start
Yeah.
with Belly? She's
Let's
our
start
main
with
character.
Isabel.
What do we want to say about her?
She's annoying.
I am not a fan. That's
I
the thing I want to say.
no, I love Belly.
Yeah,
I
I do.
really do.
Ooh, Eve and
love
I are going to
Belly.
team up on Amanda and Jeanette. This is not a combination that usually happens.
This is like a
I mean-
brand new thing.
No, I mean, she does make stupid decisions,
Mhm.
but she's the youngest one out of them all. She's supposed to
Yeah.
be making dumb decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when she has two of these fishermen,
I mean, think about
I
that.
just heard that, but
But
I mean, like, what
Well-
would you do as a 16-year-old girl when you got
Exactly.
both of these boys like coming out?
I
Like,
choose one.
come on.
That's what I
I
do.
think
I would
think
100%
you
go back
all
to
choose one.
16-year-old Marie.
Well, I would choose one too. I would choose the other one. But
All right now.
but I can definitely see why, like, I can see how this could happen. I mean, especially when like they're both showing you attention, and I think that's what it is. Now, I think she's now, and she's gonna make a choice. And I think, had she not been 16, this would be like, okay, well, this is like, what are you doing here? But like, because she's, I don't know, I see Belly as like, I almost look at her as like, which is awkward because I look at the boys as like, I picture myself as like a teenage girl when I'm like thinking about them. Like, even though they're
Yeah.
adults, they're all adults.
Well, that's
so
because you don't want to
that's
feel
right.
like you belong in jail.
Right. They are all adults though. So like,
No, I
I'm
was
cool with it.
Googling ages when I was
Same.
watching the show. I was like, okay, can I find this guy attractive?
But I do that a lot with like some of our shows.
You
Like, wait
too.
a minute. Especially
Like
when
there
they're
has to
playing
be a
teenagers.
certain
If they can drink is where I draw the line. If they can legally go into a restaurant and order a drink, that is where I draw the line. If they're under that, no. But like, maybe it's because I'm a girl mom. So like Belly, though, I see, like, I view her as like my daughter. And so like, I give her, I think, a little bit more, I don't know, like leeway here. And then like, okay, like I understand like what you're doing here. Like this is dumb. And I want to shake her sometimes and be like, please don't do that. Like there were a couple times when she says things this season that I'm like, but you don't actually mean that. So like, let's not say that. Okay.
but I
So
think she truly believes
I think she
it.
thinks she means it. You know what I mean? Like, and so that, I mean, I think she's okay. In the book, Belly, I liked her a lot less. Like in the book, Belly kind of drove me nuts. Yeah.
She didn't to me. She seemed about the same to me as
She never grew. She remained this immature back and forth.
Oh, you're talking about
wishy-washy
book
girl.
3 though.
But I mean,
yeah,
she
okay,
remained. She
so
was the
book
same character in
3
book 3 that she was in book 1 and 2.
I know, but book 3 there was a time jump there. So book 3 she annoyed me a little bit more because
Yes,
She's
supposed to
True.
be, but she's
Yeah.
still 19.
Well, yeah, and that
20.
she will
I
bother
mean-
me if she remains true to her book character when we get to season 3. Then I may change my mind because I might be like, okay, Isabel, you're gonna need to like get.
I
it
think they're
together.
going to mature her. I think they're going to mature her for this show. I mean, they've already matured her in season 2.
Yeah.
Because as we know, with spoiler alert, I don't know if Eve, want to close your ears, like the fireplace scene never happened.
Yeah,
I was
like,
mad
that-
about that.
To
I'm
me, I
not.
think that they will mature her in season 3 because that's just the fan base. The fan base wants that. Majority
Well,
of them.
But
I think it changes a lot. I think
that's
changes,
exactly it.
But I think it'll be okay because one of the things, like, and I know we're gonna like, and I mean, maybe we should warn like if our listeners don't want book spoilers, like you might want to go
Don't
read the
listen
book
yet.
before you come back and listen to us because we're gonna do it.
Yeah. They all kind of start going into one another.
Because Jeremiah
hard.
kind of, even though it's just one little sentence about like, I guess where you can see that he's a little annoyed that they haven't had sex or whatever. I think they will though if they don't in the series, I think that's odd because if you have already slept with his brother and you were, I'm not like slut shaming or anything, but you were quick to go ahead and give that up to Conrad. I mean, like y'all really just started seeing each other, which is okay, cool, like whatever you want to do, girl. Like I have
She's
no
been in love
judgment.
with him for years.
But like if you then date Jeremiah for 2 years as a college student,
Yeah,
and
then
you don't,
yeah.
I think that's unrealistic and I think it won't feel natural.
Unless the
I
point
think-
they're trying to make is it was never really Jeremiah for her. Jeremiah, which is right now, she still has Conrad there.
Well, then that will make me angry at Belly because
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I think that's what, so I definitely think it will change things by adding in that fireplace scene. But I also think because this is on Prime, I think they will be intimate together. I mean, these are both adults. They're going to be then playing adults. We've already seen, I mean, my God, the man's like choking her as he's like kissing her on that car. So, I mean, like, I'm sorry, but I think I think they're going to be intimate together.
That's not as much of a turn
Everybody's
on for
gonna
me as it
demand.
is for everybody else.
Everybody's going to demand we get at least one.
If we don't, I mean, like, I feel like that's a disservice to us. Okay. I don't know.
That felt very deviant to me.
There are so many things, like even in the motel at the end of the looks when she like runs her hand along his back.
Yeah.
And like, I honestly, in my head, because I watched too many other kinds of shows, I thought like the door in the bathroom is gonna be left open just a little bit.
Just
know
a
what I
little
mean?
bit,
You know how that-
mirror action.
And then he was gonna catch a
teasing,
glance. But he's a good guy. He would leave just like he did. But I thought there was going to be that moment of like a little more tension, and they didn't do it. So I think season 3, I think it will. The show itself is maturing with each season. I think season 3 is going to be a little more mature.
The problem with that is that is going to completely alter, like they're going to have to really truly destroy Jer's character then if Conrad's endgame, if that's the case, because
I don't think so.
Yeah, because the big thing there is that he had sex with someone else because the idea was Belly wasn't giving it up to him. That's how Belly felt about it. That's why Belly was so hurt by it, even though that's not really why it happened.
I'm
But
not
that's
sure
where Belly's head was. So if they already do that in here, then that's going to completely alter that argument that jump started them getting engaged.
I think Eve, you know basically what happens, right? Don't you? Or do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like, but see, the thing is, like, I view that as it's going to be more of a like Rory Logan situation from the Gilmore Girls, so it's still going to cause an issue. But I think they're going, because of things that we'll discuss later here of the way things play out. Unless, I mean, they changed that last episode and they added scenes that do happen, but happen at a later period of time than they
Which
do.
ones?
The whole conversation with Conrad and Jeremiah, which I know we're jumping all over the place.
Oh, yeah, that's in book 3.
That's in book 3 because that is what causes the big argument. Jeremiah had no idea that Conrad was still into her and still in love with her. He honestly didn't. So I think the fact that he knows now is going to change things. I think they're going to have to alter this. And like Amanda said, they're going to have to end things cordially rather than have her break his heart like that.
Yeah. They're
I
going to
think-
have to like agree to split or
I
something.
mean, he can't bring her infinity necklace back to her on her wedding, the night before her wedding. He's already given that to her. Like, there's so many things that have already happened that we're
Unless
going
she
to have.
somehow gives it back to him.
But
it was very, I mean, they made a point for her as she was putting it in her pocket, that they made that a point in the motel.
The scene was almost exactly what happens, but it happens the night before her wedding instead. So I think we're changing things in the way that it plays out.
I do too. I think
if you don't, it's going to feel
agree
weird because it's not going to play out right in my mind. Like, you change too much stuff here to not go ahead and change things later. I think the end result will remain the same.
Yeah.
But I think we will get there on a different road.
I'm okay with that, as long as I do not like it when book adaptations that people love the series, they love the book, that's why a show has been created or a movie has been created, and then they change the ending. I hate that. I hate it. Except for the Divergent things. That was crap. Here's
something that I didn't read this article, but I read that there was an article where Jenny Han, and so I don't know how true all this is. I didn't hear it from Jenny, but that she was honestly unsure of who she wanted Endgame to be when she went into book 3. So that's why book 3 Jeremiah seems kind of like, whoa, what has happened to this guy? I almost feel like she felt the need to destroy him. And this is a long time ago. So maybe she is now regretful of that. And she's like, okay, we're going to do this differently because Team Jellyfish is not having it. Like, I mean, there's a lot of Jeremiah fans, even that have read the book.
Well, I think here's the problem, though. I think that in casting, they expected Belly to have the chemistry with Conrad that she would have with Jeremiah. Yeah. And those actors, I mean, nothing bad against Chris.
Okay.
But the chemistry between Belly and Jeremiah, between Lola and Gavin, is so much more intense. And I mean, I think that she was probably not expecting. They were given a script saying, okay, this is what your character's roles are. This is where it's going. I don't think she expected them to have the chemistry that they did.
You know when else that happened? That happened when they made the Vampire Diaries, and Elena ends up with Stefan in the books. but Ian and Nina fell in love, and there we go. Things change.
That's right. That's when I started watching the Vampire Diaries, when they switched the ending of the books. I was like, So Belly, what annoyed me about her, and this was kind of in the first season too, and honestly, it was how she treated them. Like in first season, she's with Jeremiah. All right, you can say, "Oh, they weren't really together." All you want, they were together, and they were kissing. They went to the dead bowl together. They were holding hands together. Susanna saw them together. Conrad kisses her once, and then she's like, "Okay, since you're my dream, I want this." And then she goes and tells Conrad, and then she has the nerve to say in the beginning of season 3, "I want us to still be friends." I'm sorry. How dare you? Who do you think you are? So that made me mad. And then even before they kissed that time in front of the car, when everyone was going crazy for the chokehold, she said, I didn't even like what she said to him then, because even then it felt like a backhanded compliment. It felt like, you are second choice. And that's just mean when she said, he is my fantasy, but I'm ready for something real. Yeah, the idea of something real is nice and sweet, but you're letting him know that Conrad was your first choice. And I didn't like how she worded it.
I think I don't think there's anything wrong with wording it like that, because I think he knew that. Like, we all knew that. Like, it's been clear. And so I think that was the only way of justifying it to him. You couldn't have convinced him that, oh, I'd choose you over Conrad. I always would have chose you over Conrad, because that's not true. And we all know that. So
I shouldn't say that, but I mean, why point out to him in that moment, hey, you're second choice? Why do you have to point it out?
She said that though. She said Conrad was a fantasy and I want something real. And I think that is true to everyone. He is the fantasy, but like, fantasy is not necessarily what you want long term. Like, you don't necessarily need those fireworks, like, with Conrad. You want, I think, I'm a 40-year-old woman now, 41. Like, I think you want your comfort blanket, you want your golden retriever, you want your best friend. That's what you want long term. A soulmate is, in my opinion, as an old woman here, a soulmate is overrated, because I think soulmates are a fantasy. You want something who's going to go the long haul. And so I think that's what she was saying, that like, I want something real. I don't want this dream that I'm having with Conrad, because he's never going to like give it to me, which at this point in the story, that Conrad cannot. Now, but after maturing, book 3 Conrad, season 3 Conrad, maybe he can, and that's fine and all. But like, right now, she's right. He can't give that to her.
I felt like she was just so wishy-washy, and I get she's a teenager, and teenagers can be kind of wishy-washy when they have two boys, competing for her attention or whatever. But I feel like it was her whole personality, and it just got boring.
Yeah.
And whenever she came on screen, it was just her. I was like, can she just please stop talking and then just move on to somebody else? Because I just got really tired of her.
I think I did feel that way. And that's probably because we were doing this at the end of the season. I think I did feel that way, maybe like mid-season. But then by the time the kiss happened, I feel really not even the kiss, by the time the pool scene happened, and they got their Taylor Swift song, by the way.
Was that, are you talking about the pool scene with Conrad and Belly out there, when Belly was going to tell him she had feelings for Jeremiah?
No, the one before, like when like she pushes Jeremiah in the pool and the whole little moment or whatever. I think from that point on, I don't necessarily think, she flirted a tiny bit at Party City, but I really think her mind was made. She had her moment when she was drunk on the beach, but I think that was sort of her turning point, was like realizing, like, from then on, I think it was Jeremiah all the way. I think the Team Conrad saw other things that were thrown, but I never saw those things. I saw other, I just didn't see those moments the way that they saw them.
See, to me, anytime I think of the Party City, I think of her and Conrad. I don't even remember Jeremiah having a scene.
Those were real moments that Conrad and Belly were having right there. They were deep, intimate, connectional moments. I don't think they were flirting, though. I think Jeremiah overreacted.
I think it's just their natural pull and attraction to each other.
Yeah.
Jeremiah is always going to be self-conscious about it. Always.
Because I think no matter what, because of the way this story has began, she will always have that sort of thing with both brothers, no matter what happens. Because not only is it a flirtation and attraction to both, it's also a friendship with both. So like, there's banter and there's like joking around. So like, I feel like those things are always going to be there no matter who she's going to pick, which is a really tough situation
for the boys.
Yes.
I mean, it's great for Belly.
sure. Right.
And I don't think my irritation with her was so much with her as it was for those boys are getting destroyed over and over again.
Mhm.
I think
No,
that's
I
really
agree
where
with
my
that.
irritation with her came in. And even when it was when she chased after Conrad, I was a
Mhm.
little I mean, I get why after I watched some TikToks, I get why Jeremiah sent Belly. At first I was like, really? You're gonna be the man who's gonna send the girl to go get your brother? But I get it now, Team Jeremiah. I understand why he did that. Don't come at me. But when he said to her, I don't want you, and she was like, oh, you don't want me? Like, you're choosing Jeremiah. Choose
Why
not to get hung
her?
up on that. And then in
Yeah.
the end, when he right before he gives her the necklace back, he was clearly saying, I was mad that you were together. I was trying to screw it up. So just he wasn't so much saying, I didn't mean I don't want you. He was more saying, disregard everything I said. I don't want to be in
Yeah.
the middle anymore. He was being a stand-up guy. And she
Yeah.
said, he has the power to take things away. You just met up with his brother twice. You chose him.
Yeah.
Why are you still getting hung up on the fact that, oh, Conrad doesn't want me relationally anymore? Conrad doesn't want me romantically anymore. You chose his brother. Stop destroying them both.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, I see it. I guess he does emotionally toy with her though. He does do
On
hot and cold,
purpose.
and he goes back. I don't think it matters. Like, I mean, I tell my kids all the time, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's on purpose or not. If your words hurt someone, they're still hurting someone. I mean, and his words are hurtful a lot of times. Like, flat out, I mean, him saying that I don't want you was unnecessary.
Like, okay,
it's
let's
cool
take it back to Vampire Diaries, though.
Yeah.
Stefan did the same thing to Elena
and I don't like
whenever
him.
he was off with Klaus.
Right, and I don't
So-
agree with, but I'm in Stefan. I'm going to defend Stefan Salvatore. It's not like this was
Whoa.
a pattern of something he did over and over and over again.
Mm.
Conrad has always done this to Belly over and over. His hot and cold, push and pull, like that's really. I mean, he's done this his entire life, and I get that that's his personality because he shuts down when he's grieving. Cool, whatever, but like it's still affecting someone.
I wouldn't say that's his personality. But what I appreciated about the books is they dove into that a little bit more because he wasn't always hot and cold. It was when the struggle with his dad came up, and then he found out about the cheating, and then his mom was dying of cancer, and that's why his hot and cold isn't so much to protect himself. I mean, it is a little bit because he's pulling back, but it's to make sure that she doesn't get railroaded by him anymore. It's his self-loathing he has this idea that this is who I am. I'm completely dysfunctional. That's not a word. Dysfunctional. Jeez. Yeah. He's completely dysfunctional and broken. So I am going to shove you as far away. And it's the same thing that like when Lorelai slept with Chris after she told Luke.
Oh, so terrible.
It was terrible. But the reason it was awful. I hated that she did that. But the reason she did it was because she knew if she didn't do that, then there was no severing of the relationship and she was going to keep going back. And that's kind of what Conrad does is he's like, no, this is going to damage you and it's going to continue to break me. So I'm going to sever it. And that's why he says it's mean, but
it doesn't sever it because he still continues to go back and forth. So
well, he did that this time because Jeremiah told him to.
Okay, I think we start the series in a very, very odd place. And I think that's why we have such a huge diversity in teams.
Yeah.
I mean, we're thrown into this summer she turns pretty. So not all the other summers. I mean, all the other summers, she was little to them, to both of them.
Yes.
She was little. She was the little one. She was always like the little sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then the summer that she actually comes in and they notice her now, in a different way, in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the same exact time that Conrad has this huge cloud hanging over his head. I think that clash together is why there's just such a divide because like that's how I see it. I'm like you can't really. There's obviously a reason why she's so infatuated and in love with him from the years past. All these like flashbacks we get are of her and young Conrad at the fair together. There's dancing. Obviously, he was there for another girl, but still, I feel like if we saw more of that kind of stuff with Jeremiah and her when they were little,
See, that was the weird thing to me because
She
in
said
the
that.
books, it's
Yeah.
Jeremiah who does that stuff with her. Jeremiah is the one who fights for her to come along and take along with the guys. And it's Conrad who's like, oh, we really have to bring Belly. But
But
it's
we do-
Jeremiah in the books who does that. But in the show, they switched it to make Conrad the one who hangs out with her and teaches her to dance and does all these things. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it with you. Yeah, I'll do this. I'll show you Belly. He's not like that in the books.
But I mean, he is in the show. He is a little bit. I mean, because even in season 1, when like she goes to the bonfire and like,
No, I mean in the flashbacks.
well, I think, we see the sick day flashback, and that one. I mean, I know people gave Jeremiah such a hard time about he didn't want to stay and hang out
Who
with her.
would want to?
Why would he want to? And honestly, I rewatched it. It's not like he gave much protest. He said, "Mom," and then Susanna's like, "Jeremiah," he's like, "It's fine, and go to the boardwalk another day." It's not. I mean, he didn't put up much of a fight here to stay home and hang out with her. So, I think that scene was. They didn't give us enough of those, but I think that scene was given to us to show that he did always. Now, I'm not saying that he was into her because I think he viewed her just as his best friend, maybe until like that's
summer?
okay too. Yeah, I mean,
I think he was getting confused because they had that handhold in the tent when she was sick.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
That,
I
I
mean,
did have to remind him of that because I thought in the books it was different. I thought he was like, yeah, I'll stay home with Belly. But then
It's
I was
not.
reminded that no, that's he had to
No,
be
he
fought the
didn't
same
want
way.
to, because even like in the books, whenever he comes down there, Belly asks, she's like, "Did your mom come and make you sit with me?"
but if you notice, he did not tell her that he is
No.
like he did. He made a point to like be like, no, I wanted to stay. That might be
I
in the
wanted
books
to.
only.
It is in the books only.
Which I think that's appreciate that of his personality,
Mhm.
because I mean,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I feel like Conrad would have been like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like Jeremiah's like trying to save her
Probably.
feelings and be
But
like,
Conrad's
"No, I wanna
also
be here."
older.
And right, so I mean, I don't fault him either. Like, I mean, she was into. I'm not sure. I think she was into Conrad because he was the oldest. He was the coolest. He was
Yeah.
as like a young girl. That's
But he
probably the one
did.
I would. Fall
He
for
was the
too.
one in the show who paid attention to her when she was young.
Yeah.
In the show,
Yeah.
not in the books, but in the show, he is the one who paid attention to her when she was young. He was the one who took
Yeah.
the time to explain things to her, to invite her along, or to show her how to do things.
Yeah.
It was him who
Mhm.
did that. Stephen and Jeremiah were like, "No, we don't want her."
Yes,
Yeah,
it-
in the
to,
show.
To me, in the books, it's more Stephen and Jeremiah are like, two peas in a pod. They're everywhere. No.
Stephen and
show.
Conrad in the books.
Yeah.
In the show, it's Stephen and
In the show.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, I got it mixed
Until
up.
weirdly though, until this season when he's like, "Conrad's my best
Yeah.
friend." Like, what?
Is he?
But since
Yeah.
when?
I think they're both, but
Yeah.
I agree. So let's dive into Jeremiah. Now I love Jeremiah's character. I am usually Switzerland. I have been Team Conrad and Team Jeremiah throughout the season. In the books, I'm firmly Team Conrad, but that's endgame. I think right now, Jeremiah is right now. And I think he should be right now. I think that Conrad is not in the mental space to be in any sort of relationship without completely derailing everything. And so he needs to fix himself. So I'm totally Team Jeremiah right now. He did annoy me a couple times. There was once in season 1, before he and Belly were even a thing, when he was mad that Belly basically told him that she's in love with Conrad or she wants Conrad. He was mad at her, like, oh, what you'll see. I'm paraphrasing because I binge watched it on one night, so I don't remember. But he kept getting mad at her every time she'd say she liked Conrad. Like, this is not a secret. Like, you have all known this.
Yeah.
I get that you like her now, and I forget how young they are because I know how old they are in real life. So I have to keep remembering that, and it's a struggle for me. But then in this season, anytime Conrad, even after Conrad and her broke up, she and Jeremiah made up. They're friends now. They aren't romantic yet.
Mhm.
Anytime Conrad paid her any attention or she looked directly at Conrad to have a conversation with him, Jeremiah would get he would get rude and mean. Like, dude, she's not your girlfriend. And she dated your brother. So get over it. Stop doing this.
I don't remember him getting rude or mean. I definitely saw he got jealous a lot. And I mean, he acted out a little more, but I think he had cause to, because here he liked her and clearly like she's saying, "Oh, I don't want Conrad." Well, we know you do, girl. So like you're obviously messing with his head. And so I think that's why I gave him the pass until because we see him all season long. He is doing everything in his power to push back his feelings. Like when they sit around and try to play truth or dare, like, and poor Sky not knowing anything, it's like, "I dare you to kiss Jeremiah." Why don't you want to kiss me? Because like, why would he want to kiss you, especially in front of his brother and everyone else? Like, he's not going to do that, honey. Like,
and I think that's why Eve and I were saying that she was annoying.
Yeah. No, I know.
That part really did bother me with
Yeah.
the Truth or Dare. I was like, gee, I don't know. Have you not been around for the last few years?
Yeah, because when they're in like the room where they've got like they're doing their little Twizzler straws and all that, I think in that moment he might have kissed her. They got real close, but they got interrupted.
I thought he pulled away first,
Or
and then
maybe
they
he
got
did
interrupted.
pull away, but he definitely seemed more likely in that moment because I think he was starting to lose himself. He's definitely not going to kiss you in front of a whole group of people as part of a game, because it's not a game to him.
Yeah.
Like he cares about you.
And I think that's why he pulled away before they got the kiss in that theater room, because he's been there before.
Yeah.
And after she solidified, I want you, Jared. No, I want you, Jared. She was like, oh, just kidding. I want Conrad. See you later. So, I mean, that's probably why he pulled away, because he's been there before.
Yeah.
And she's not fair to either one of those guys.
She's not.
Just like he says in the book, you want your cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's so mean.
And
your cookies
your cookies and brownies as well. What did he say?
It's so mean, but I was here for it. I don't know.
I will say that in the books, they were nicer to Jeremiah because they didn't have the whole makeup or dating thing before Conrad and her got together. When they made out, and then she went up to him and was like, oh, can we still be friends? Yeah, they separated. And I like that Conrad did go to him and tell him this. And he's like, I get that you feel this way, but this is how I feel. And Jeremiah was nice enough to be like, you know what? Don't let me stop you. But for them to continue to do that in front of him, like, do you know what you did to him, right?
Yes. Like at Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh. I was, and then even Conrad was so shocked when Jeremiah was like, look, if she's going to be here, just tell me. I mean, I don't want to see this. And he was like, what do you mean? What do you think? Like, you came and you also, I mean, that was a moment too when he came to ask for his blessing. I think that was rude. This was still raw. And we talk about everything that Conrad's going through with his mother's death. Jeremiah is now in the thick of this. I mean, he is paying her bills for her. He is being her only caregiver because we know Adam's not doing anything.
Oh, useless.
And
between him and Laurel, I mean.
And then you walk in and you sit down. He's obviously, and this is like a 17-year-old boy trying to figure out how to pay all the bills for the family, manage all of this. And you're like, want to talk about your love life. Conrad, that was selfish and that was disgusting, in my opinion. There's other things happening right now. And then he doesn't even help him with the bills. After that, he just gets up and goes on about his business.
He had more important business, Jeanette.
This is why I was not upset with Jeremiah calling him out that night at that party, because I mean, yes, I understand that he shouldn't have given up college to come and we get that, but this is what Jeremiah was dealing with this whole time. I can understand why he felt like you were off just enjoying your life and he was stuck there doing that. I get that perspective.
And I think in the books, it's a little bit easier. And again, this is something they changed, because in the books, Laurel is there every day taking care of things. And Adam stepped up at the end. Jeremiah didn't have to do that in the books. But Conrad and Jeremiah shared the burden in the books. They were both aware that things were happening. In the show, Conrad had carried that burden by himself for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's why he was getting angrier and angrier and angrier and getting the panic attacks, and why he couldn't. And I think that when he went off to school and him checking out of doing the household stuff was because he had carried the burden for a long time. And he finally, even when he would talk to Belly, my mom's getting, did they say that in the show where Conrad was like, my mom's getting better?
Yeah, they did it when he came to visit her at Halloween or whatever. I think
he was like almost intentionally delusional because he couldn't imagine the idea of his mom being gone and she was going through the trial. So with Jeremiah, I was kind of bummed that they took that away, because Laurel, they still made it sound like Laurel was there every day. So they just made me dislike Laurel in the show. Because, Laurel, what are you doing? You're there every day. You're going to take trays off of her lap, but you're not going to help Jeremiah with the bills. You're not, Adam, you were supposed to be there in the end, and you're just going to let your son do all this crap?
Where do they live in the books? Because I feel like
Boston, I think in the books too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But I think in the show,
Boston.
The others live in Pennsylvania or something. I don't think they're as close as I don't think she could be there every day. I feel like in the show it's a little bit different. She's not as close.
I don't know where the Conklins live. I know the Fishers live in Boston, but I don't know where the Conklins live.
I feel like I remember them saying something about somewhere in Pennsylvania, which would make it a much further drive.
Apparently the beach house is in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say the word, I'm sorry.
Because doesn't she, they said something about Conrad driving all night or something to get to Belly, or I don't know, driving a long way to get to Belly. So I don't think they're close enough, at least in the show, for
Well,
Laurel
where's-
to be there.
Where's Brown?
Rhode Island.
Because
Yeah.
that's where Conrad drove from. He drove from the college to Belly's house, not from his home to Belly's house.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel I don't know. 'Cause
He
we
did.
both-
He drove from New York to Belly's house.
because if they
Or
live that
Rhode
close
Island.
together, how come these kids never like? I mean, Billy points out that she's never seen them in their Christmas sweaters, and if you live that close together, why wouldn't you spend holidays together? So I don't
Mhm.
think they live as close as.
But I think in the books, it was that Laurel was like staying there on the
Yeah.
weeks. It's not like she was driving up every day. She was staying there. And they, in the last episode of the season, when Laurel was walking Belly in there,
Mhm.
she did kind of make it sound like
I think at the
I've
end,
been here a lot. Yeah. That's what
But
I'm
I don't-
saying. Like, why did they help Jeremiah with that stuff?
Well, but I think that was prior to that. I think that was at the very end that she was
Mm.
there a lot more. Like I think during like prom time and all of that, like I don't think she's like there like as
She
often.
was there throughout the nights and stuff.
Yeah.
What was the corsage parallel that everyone was bringing up?
That
Was
was
it Dawson's Creek?
Pacey forgetting like
Yeah, Pacey
Joey's
forgot.
corsage.
Yep.
I forgot that happened. And I was like,
There's
no,
so many
I don't care for that parallel.
so many parallels. The
that one.
one
I
I saw,
just
my favorite
really-
one today was Conrad throwing the basketball with the one hand and
I
looking
don't
at
like
her.
that one either. I'm gonna go ahead and ignore that.
No, it's true. The
No.
When did that
bar.
happen?
No.
They're comparing it to
One Tree
Nathan
Hill.
and One Tree Hill with the
Oh.
when they were doing the shootout, like Nathan also in a game does like where he doesn't look at the goal and he just shoots it and makes it. And I noticed that as soon as it happened, and I was like, I'm not.
See,
He's
parallel.
he is
It's-
no
You
Nathan
just
Scott.
don't like it because you love Nathan.
He's no Nathan Scott. I
Well,
think
I'm
we
not
can
going
all
to
agree.
deny that. I do very much love Nathan, and I do not love Conrad. So.
Exactly.
All right. So, Team Jeremiah, why don't you talk a little bit? Do you have anything else you want to say about Jeremiah?
No, I mean, I don't know how to like because I mean people. I mean, I think he's. I hate to say better brother because now, okay, I will admit in the last episode I felt really sorry for Conrad. I know it's embarrassed to say that, but like I think I understand him more, and so I think that he doesn't get the credit he deserves for what he's been going through, and I think that goes back to like the conversation he had with Susanna in that he's always fine and he's always okay. And I think I have a very similar personality to that like I basically anything could happen to me and I'm probably not going to break down in front of you. I'm not going to shut down. I'm not going to like blow you off. I'm going to have a smile on my face. That doesn't mean that I'm okay. And I think like there's the whole saying of just because someone carries it like well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. And I think that describes Jeremiah really perfectly, that he is always going to smile through and make sure that everybody else is good, but he is suffering the same things that Conrad is suffering. Honestly, maybe even a little more so because of the fact that he was forced to live it day in, day out. Conrad had college as an escape and as a place that he could go and sort of have a normal life and not think about it. Jeremiah had none of that. He was there every single day living it. And I agree. I was so mad at the beginning of the season in the way that all of that played out. I remember watching that first episode and I was like, I mean, the audacity of them and the way that they're
It was
treating him.
mean.
And even so much as when, Belly, when they first go on their little trip to go find Conrad, the way that she acted like, like they should just be able to jump right back into being best friends. No, he was angry. And I mean, I know he got a lot of crap on TikTok or whatever for, him cussing and him being angry about like being hateful towards her. Well, I mean, I understand why he's being hateful. He doesn't want to be around her right now. She broke his heart, not just as this girl that he had like kissed or whatever, but as his best friend, she completely abandoned him then.
Yeah. I mean, I like that but I also like that he says it to her, like, you abandoned me.
Well, and that's that in
And
my
I
opinion,
love
that's
that.
the key difference between him and Conrad a lot of times is that Jeremiah like communicates his feelings, and that's a level of maturity that I mean, I'm sorry, Conrad doesn't have. And that's fine. I understand everybody's different, but like you have to communicate yourself with, especially with someone that you're in a relationship with. You have to communicate. That's how things work. Up till the last episode with Conrad, I remember like looking at my daughter and I was like, I mean, I'm going to give him props. Like when he's telling her how he feels, I'm like, finally, thank you for using your words, Conrad, because now we're understanding your feelings and this makes it a little easier.
The one thing I will defend Belly on with the friendship thing, and Jeremiah I was really glad he said something to her, and I was really annoyed that she tried to act like nothing had changed at all, because that's dumb. No matter how you look at it, that's stupid. And I don't think Belly's a stupid person, but she acted like she was. However, when she audaciously asked him, saying, I still want to be friends with you, he said, screw you, basically. No, we're not going to be friends, which was absolutely right.
Right.
But then he gets mad at her for not being his friend. So like, you had every right to turn her away, and I probably would have done the same thing, because what she pulled you was crappy. It was unkind. It was mean-spirited. But then you also can't get mad at her because you said, get away from me. We're not friends. So, you know what I mean? And at the funeral, she was there for Jer.
She was.
At the funeral. I mean, she
but
definitely screwed that whole thing up and made it about her, which was insanity, but
didn't see that though, that she was there for him. Because if you realize, like, I mean, she made a plate for him, yes, but then Steven asked to take it up. So like in Jeremiah's perspective, maybe he didn't realize that she was also down there. Because I doubt Steven went up there and was like, hey, Belly made this for you. Like, he probably didn't. He probably was like, hey man, I got you some food. And like, it was just,
I mean, Belly was the one who was like, Jared, go upstairs, I'll bring you a plate.
Yeah, but, and then Steven shows up with it. I mean, I can see where that maybe he doesn't realize.
And then later on, he comes and sees that she's looking for Conrad or whatever.
The thing is, I'm going to defend her just a touch on the funeral thing.
Oh, I defend her too.
Because here's the thing. Okay, we're all looking at this as Susanna is Jeremiah and Conrad's mother. In a lot of ways, she is very much a mother figure to Belly as well. So I would say that hurt that she is feeling is very comparable to the hurt that the boys are feeling too. Steven included. I think those families are so closely intertwined that losing Susanna probably, I mean, it affected all of them just as strongly as the next, I think.
Does anybody else like feel like why they, in the book and the show, I feel like they exclude Steven a lot?
Yeah.
I was really pleased with the show, Steven, because he's a way more prominent in the books. He's almost like
barely there.
He's a mention here and there.
And I hate that made me sad because he's one of my favorites.
Yes. I'm more Team Staler than I am any other team on this show.
Absolutely.
I wonder if the reason that I'm such a big fan of Steven is because he isn't there all the time. He isn't focused on, and I'm just like, this guy isn't causing problems.
Maybe
that's true.
He's finding his own business over here, so that I'm cool with him.
Yeah.
Who minds their own business and stays in their lane.
We'll get even with Steven.
Oh my gosh, I'm still waiting for that to drop on Spotify. I'm gonna go ahead and download.
Oh, I'm gonna download it. I'll jam to that song.
Well, Eve, before we move into Conrad, do you have anything you would like to say about Jeremiah? We'll give you guys ample room.
I feel like I just have more to say about why I just don't prefer Conrad, which I guess we can get into a little later. I think the reason I will admit, I think the reason I am more, Team Jelly is just because I am very, very, very much against Team Conrad. So
okay.
I feel like it's a lot more of I dislike Conrad more than I like Jeremiah.
I mean, like, I can see that for me too. Like, I feel bad. I mean, if you had made, it's not like Jeremiah, he's sweet and all, like, and we know I love him, but like, if you had made Conrad a little more likable, I could see myself being torn a little more, but I'm just not.
Who here is oldest child? You are, and you guys didn't relate to how he handled grief and how he handled that stuff on the show at all?
No.
Mm-mm. Oh, wow.
Because I think Jeremiah is more of that way, because Jeremiah is the one taking care of people and taking care of things and like keeping it together for the sake. In my opinion, Conrad acted like a youngest child of just like doing, like moping and like doing his own thing and not having a care in the world about how someone else is affected by this.
Okay.
I didn't mean to offend any youngest children out there. I understand that, but like, I mean,
that's a thing. That's a real thing.
In my opinion, like, I mean, I think the oldest child, typically, like myself, I would do anything in my power to make sure my brother is taken care of before myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to worry about being in my feelings. I mean, I will be, not publicly. I will do this in private and you will never know. And so maybe it's not about like, your age order, but I think that's my personality. And so this is why I related to Jeremiah. Like, I'm going to put a smile on my face and we're going to like pretend all is well. We're going to fake it till we make it. That's what I do.
Well, I think with Conrad, I think he thought he was doing that. He was doing a very poor job about it. I think we can all agree he did a very poor job of it. I mean, that's a reality. Even Team Conrad cannot deny that he was he was a jerk in most of season 1, right? So we can all agree with that. But I think that him trying to keep the bad news from Jeremiah was him trying to protect him from this but that ate him away. And I personally relate to that because I know I came at you guys when I binge watched season 1 that one night. I was like, why in the world did no one give me a trigger warning that I was going to spend the last 3 episodes sobbing uncontrollably? Because I had
that was poor planning on our part.
It really was. We got too in the zone of these boys and we kind of forgot. Yeah.
That's all I knew about it was Team Jeremiah. I can't wait for you to watch this so you can tell me what team you're on. I'm like, Susanna dies?
Yeah, we're terrible friends. We're sorry.
To be fair, we didn't know that she like was gonna die. We thought like I hadn't read the books yet. I didn't know if this trial was gonna save her or not. So that's
I thought it was.
I thought it was too. I thought we were at least change that. Even when I found out in the book she dies, like I thought
I was shocked. Episode 1.
But
I was very confused. I was like, wait a minute. Wait, Susanna died. I was texting with Jeanette because I was so confused. I said, so Susanna died. The stuff that's going on with Belly and Conrad at the beginning, that's not a dream. Like, that's real. I thought it was all a dream.
It did feel like that at first. I was like, wait, what is happening here?
I was very
I thought it was.
But for me, I had someone I was very close to die of cancer when I was in high school. And while she was going through it, I tried to keep it all to myself. And that made me a very angry, bitter person. I didn't want to inconvenience anyone else. I didn't want anyone else to suffer with what I knew. And so I became very, very angry. And I lashed out. That's when I really started drinking and doing drugs, was because I needed some sort of outlet because I wasn't. So I think I related to Conrad more because of that. Like I can excuse more because I get that, where you just don't want anyone else to know this pain. So you try to keep it. Mm-hmm. But when you keep pain, you destroy yourself and you make yourself something that you're actually not. Jeremiah did handle it way more healthy. I'm not denying it. He was way more healthy about it. He did. And they both did. I agree. He does not get the amount of recognition he should for what he went through. Everyone is so focused on making excuses for Conrad that they forget that there should also be allowances for Jeremiah as well. And I'm probably guilty of that too. But I do think that part of the reason that we make so many excuses for Conrad of that is because people are so focused on, well, he's just a jerk. He's just angry. Yeah, but there's a reason he is. Yeah. It's not saying that there isn't one for Jeremiah, but there is a definite reason that this is his pain. And because he's trying to take the pain from everyone else so no one else feels it, he has become this otherworldly thing.
Yeah. And honestly, had that been like what happened in season 1, and he learned from that, whatever happened, okay, and then we move into season 2 and she gets sick again, but he reacts the exact same way. So it feels like you learned not, and I understand that's just a reaction, but it's still not fair to Belly, regardless of that. And I was looking at it because, like I said, I'm a girl mom, so I'm looking at her as like my child, and that is not fair for her to experience that. Like her prom experience
was awful.
I don't care what he's going through.
That was
uncalled for.
That was bad. Yeah. No,
he says really, and in the books it's even worse. I feel like in the books he actually says really terrible. He's actually emotionally abusive to her.
In the books, yeah, a little bit.
They've taken that out in the show, I think, because these books were written a long time ago, and I think it wouldn't fly right now in 2023.
But I also think there would be no coming back from that.
Yeah. But Conrad wouldn't survive this show, like to see it played out on screen. No one would be Team Conrad.
And in the show, Conrad at prom, when she was like, just tell me the truth, he actually looked a little bit broken that she was going to remove herself from him.
Yeah.
So there was that sympathy that you felt from a little bit there.
No, because then he could have just spoke up and been like,
he was broken.
Know. Well, consequences are what they are. That doesn't mean she has to stick around and
I agree.
Just
like Jeremiah had every right to be like, screw you, Belly, we're not friends.
Yeah.
I think Belly had every right to be like, well, Conrad, I'm not doing this with you anymore. It's too painful. I got to stop. Mm-hmm. But I can just understand why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah. My inclination, I mean, I'm 40 years old. Okay. Yeah. And it took me until I was 38 to start going to therapy and be like, oh, That's why I've reacted this way my whole life. Okay. Conrad's not going to therapy. He doesn't have those tools. This is so I understand him more, which is why I'm not excusing what he's done. What he's done is still bad, but I can understand him better than I understand like the things that, because Jeremiah really does. I think next season they should do a better job, not just showing how he communicates, but showing his pain. Because I think that he did go through a lot of pain. And I think in the books, they almost talk about his pain a little bit better than they show in the show.
They do, I think. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about Conrad? Eve, do you want to destroy Conrad now? Is that what you're hoping to do?
Well, I'm not going to completely destroy him. I think my problem with Conrad and why it just had me leaning more towards Jeremiah is, yes, I get that in a lot of ways he's very broken. We saw that a lot in season 1, and I understand why. I mean, watching your mother go through that is gonna, kind of take its toll on anybody. But I feel, and this is just an issue with how he's written as a character, but I feel like that was his whole character. Was him being moody and sad.
That's what I'm saying, is we got thrown into this.
And I felt like there's nothing else to him.
Yeah.
And then we have Jeremiah, who, we're seeing a lot more, light and airy stuff. So I think that's kind of, that was really my big issue with Conrad, was that his entire personality was made out to be, he's just moody and angry all the time.
Isn't that that's what that's what Elena says. Like, I feel like she said those words, like, I get that you're sad and you're grieving, but you don't have to make it your entire personality. And I'm like, this is from the mouth of an 11-year-old. She's like, granted, she's not experienced anything like that, but that's exactly what she said too. Like, it's hard to watch. She compared her to Peyton from One Tree Hill. And since she said that, I was like, oh my God, like, this explains so much, because I hate Peyton too.
Yes, he does have the whole Peyton personality.
Yeah.
He's just self-destructing.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too that I like better about the books, is the books in the show. We also forget that he also knew about the cheating that his dad did on Susanna when she was going through the sickness, and that Susanna was sick. Does Jeremiah ever really find out about Adam cheating on Susanna? Because I don't think he does. I don't think he's ever really told.
I don't know if they say if he does or not. I mean, I would hope that he does. But
why?
It's brought up on the show, at least. I don't know about the books, though.
Well, in the books, they do a better job explaining the moodiness by saying that he knew about Adam and this other woman, and he realized everything he was doing was to please his dad. And he was so angry at his dad for what he did to his mom that he began fighting everything his dad said, no matter if he liked it or not. He fought his dad because he was so angry at his dad. And not only that took over, but also trying to keep the pain from anyone else took over.
But that perspective doesn't come into play till book 3.
Well, yeah, we get the perspective
So
from 3, but that's why he is the way he is in books 1 and 2.
So maybe we will see flashbacks, and we will get that next season. I was telling Amanda earlier, honestly, both books and show, if they could have been written, all 3 of them, from the point of views of Belly, Jeremiah, and Conrad,
would have been better.
I think it would have been better, because we would have seen because we've already formed our opinions by the time we get to Conrad explaining himself. And it's hard to go backwards, I think, once you've already said, like, I don't like him. Like, you might be like, okay, well, that sucks, but it's hard to change your mind and how you feel about him. At least it was for me.
It wasn't for me.
Well, it was for me. Maybe I'm a little more ruthless that way, but I don't know. But I would have loved to have seen, because also in book 3 with the cheating that happens, which isn't cheating at all.
It's not cheating.
But I'm gonna say that because everybody calls it cheating. It's just, terrible behavior. But still, I would have loved to have had Jeremiah's POV there, because he honestly believes they're broken up. Whereas Belly's saying, we knew we were getting back together. You did. Did he know that? We're only reading that from her perspective at that point. So it would have been nice to know what his point of view was from that fight, because I feel like he honestly didn't know if they were getting back together or not. It's Logan all over again, and I will defend it until I die.
Well, I think given how immediate he came back to her, I think he did know that this was going to be fixed. But but again, this is something that is open because it's not from his point of view. It's completely open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Amanda, do you have anything else you want to say about Conrad, since you are firmly team Conrad?
No, I mean, I think we covered it all.
Wait, Eve, you were team Conrad for a day. What happened there?
She got confused.
Hey, Jeanette is not allowed to
She
speak
got
right
confused. You're gonna mute me.
Gosh, I don't even remember. I was watching it. Was it like episode 1 or 2? It was
It was
very
like 3, I'm pretty sure.
Jeanette even remembers what episode it was.
Jeanette remembers very well because that was the day she realized she was all by herself.
Actually, it might have been 2 because it might have been after the fire. I think I know what happened. Because it almost got me. I had to force it down. During the fireplace scene, they played that song from Romeo and Juliet, which my generation, that's a big deal because that's, like Leonardo DiCaprio and all that nonsense. So I think it probably tugged your heartstrings. And
yeah, because I think that was what it was when we were seeing all the flashbacks.
You just got confused.
Yeah, it really confused me because I was like, oh, well, I do really like them together. They're kind of cute. And then when we got more, and then
for like a month, and then he's back to his old jerk self.
When the flashbacks were all over, and then we got back into, I guess, like reality, like, current day, I was like, oh, gross. Nope, never mind. I was like, that was a mistake.
And what I need to point out here is when you liked Conrad was when Conrad was not in his grief and his pain, and when he was like healthy mentally. That's when you liked Conrad.
Yes. Look, I can tell you, I've been in those relationships. You cannot build a life on not knowing what kind of mood someone is going to be in from one day to the next.
That is why I am team Jeremiah right now. But I know that Conrad, because I've read the books, I know that Conrad is seeing that he has a problem, and he makes a concerted, active efforts to take care of those issues and be better.
We'll see.
He will.
I don't think the books say that. I mean, I think they imply that it's going to happen. But we've not seen that proof, so therefore I can't
see it in book 3.
I don't. Not when you come and like jolt her like how much you love her on the night before her wedding to your brother. Like,
isn't that a conversation that Jeremiah and Conrad had though? Didn't Conrad and Jeremiah be like in book 3? Didn't that happen in book 3?
Yeah, but he tells Belly he loves her before he speaks to Conrad, before he speaks to Jeremiah. He does the whole Belly thing beforehand.
Okay. All right. Well,
rude.
We could talk about these two forever, but we're gonna move on to one that we can all agree on. We're gonna move on to Stephen and Taylor, better known as Staylor, which great ship name.
Exactly.
Great ship name.
Exactly.
Love them.
I have been shipping them since they played chicken in season 1, and she hopped on his shoulders. Since then, that was even prior to their first kiss. I was like, I like it. I want it to happen. The whole my best friend's older brother trope. It's wonderful. Been here for it the whole time.
So for those of us who read the books, I did not like Taylor in the books. I thought she was kind of a brat.
Book 1, I didn't like Taylor. By book 2, I think she was coming into her like.
I liked her book 3.
I got like her attitude was more tolerable because I think I was visualizing. Granted, I've seen the show first. So, like, I think I'm visualizing like Rain's portrayal of Taylor, and so it was easier to accept that, like when she packs Belly's bag and it's just all skimpy stuff. Like, Belly was offended, but I laughed because I'm like, that's so Taylor to do something like that. And I don't know, it made me laugh about it, I guess. I don't know. So
she had moments of funny for me, moments of light for me, but overall, and she annoyed the crap out of me. I thought she was a brat right up until book 3.
She's much less likable in the books, for sure.
Did you think so, Amanda?
Yeah, book 1, book 2 and 3, I feel like she was just, that friend you have that will do anything for you, but they'll always put themselves first.
Yeah.
In a way, I feel like everybody has one.
Yeah.
In their lives somewhere. They'll do anything for you, but they will always put themselves first.
Which, if you think about like even show Taylor, I still feel like that's actually her character, but we like her. So I mean, I think we
love her in the show.
The more you sit and think about it, she is true to her character, even in the show of what she was in the books. We just grow to love it more.
But she's not as much of a brat in the show as she is in the books.
She kind of is in season 1. A lot of people dislike season 1 Taylor.
I would say when I was listening to the books, I felt like she was a little bit more bitche,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, than she is in the show. But
yeah.
there is a difference between season 1 and season 2 Taylor, to me,
I
show
agree.
wise.
Yeah.
So
I will say that in the books, I didn't like her character, but there were moments that she made me laugh. In the show, I love her character, but there were moments where I was like, whoa, that was mean.
Yeah.
So just
Mhm.
reversed. Eve,
Yeah.
do you like show Taylor?
I do. I love Taylor. I've always loved Taylor from the beginning. I mean, at the very, very beginning of season 1, I really saw her as more of a, I guess, kind of fake friend. I
Mm.
Mhm.
know what I mean? Kind of like, Belly's hanging out with her, but they're not like
Yeah.
friends. But I had my mind changed like real quickly
Mm-hmm.
as far as she was concerned. And
Yeah.
she's just, I don't know, she's fun. I see her as like the Brooke Davis of the show. She's just fun.
Yeah.
I don't get the reference.
And that's a good character arc too.
One
Tree Hill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing we need to talk about Conrad is Sassy Conrad.
Okay. I can go back because Sassy Conrad, I am actually a little bit into.
It's definitely Stefan with his humanity turned off,
Which
by the way.
You all know this about me. I don't like Stefan, but Ripper Stefan, love him.
It's so
Yeah.
weird.
So, like,
You like
I'm
Silas
for
and
it.
Ripper Stefan.
I love it. And I mean, like, because it's not me. Like, I mean, even in that moment of the car when Sassy's like, because Sassy Conrad came out a little bit towards Aunt Julia and stuff like throughout, and every time I would laugh, I'm like, okay, I like Sassy Conrad. Even in the car, even though he's given it to like Belly and Jeremiah.
Excuse me.
I like that part.
When he's like, the world will never know, like about the best, like I love it. And I was like, okay, I like they deserve this. They were just making out on your car in your sweatshirt while they're waiting on like.
And they
they're-
acted surprised to see him. Like,
I know.
aren't you waiting for him?
Yeah, I mean, you knew he was coming, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could. I laughed and said, like, you just bought the sweatshirt from Finch. You could, at the very least, have changed
Switch it
your
out.
shirt, Belly. Like, you could at least change your shirt. But no, I love Sassy Conrad. Like, I think he's funny, and I was here for it. I mean, with the Sour Patch Kids, man, did y'all see like Sour Patch Kids on Twitter were going?
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Like-
I love it.
Whoever is in charge of their social media, give them a raise.
Yes.
That was so good.
I love
Yes.
the people on social media who are taking this seriously. Like, I'm gonna throw away all my Sour Patch Kids now. And then there was one person who was like, a
Sour
couple
Patch-
people were
he
like,
was
"Is this
blocking
smart
people.
to alienate your businesses?" Like, fuck you.
Yeah, he's like, a block you too. Like, I think that's hilarious. Like,
He's
and
so funny.
I'm for. I sent you all that picture. I felt really bad the next night. I had my like family size bag of Sour Patch Kids that I was eating, and I was like, I'm so sorry, Jeremiah. Like, I feel like I'm betraying you right now.
Amanda and I are gonna send you and Eve a whole bunch of Sour Patch Kids.
I'm cool with it because actually I love
I was
Sour
gonna
Patch
say, can you
Kids,
send me
and
some
I-
too?
and I actually do agree that Swedish fish taste like candles.
I
So,
love
That's Jake's
when,
favorite.
when the Sour Patch account was even coming at Swedish Fish.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, no, but I don't even like Twizzlers or slushies either. So me and Jeremiah cannot have snacks together. This is just not going to happen. So
I did. That was another.
You
thing,
mean to tell
like,
me you would not
I need a
take
Twizzler.
a
for him,
Twizzler and a drink
Sure
and
would.
sip it with Gavin?
Look, I can't. I am 40 years old. I could be his mother. So no, I should not.
Here, I noticed a difference in language there because you started with "I can't" and then you said "I should not." So
I physically could, and
I feel like that's a
probably-
differentiation that should be clear.
I would want
She
to.
wants to, but she's trying to be responsible.
Look, he's a grown man. If he chooses to share a Twizzler drink with me, we can do it.
We're going to see
But-
another article that says Kentucky woman divorces husband.
Look, I'm gonna make sure it's verified before I like divorce anybody. Okay,
There you go, David. You're safe.
blue checks only. Okay, It's the only way that's
You heard it here first. You want to scam Jeanette out of money and relationships? Have a blue check next to your Gavin.
You need to be verified. Yeah.
Oh, God.
But I did like to when they were getting the house party stuff and Jeremiah and Conrad were turned down for their fake IDs and Belly came out with all the booze and then Conrad he was like, I thought Coco was your specialty.
Okay.
Like that was a little
That moment, that was like the one time that I was like, okay, Conrad, like that was kind of cute. but still, like most of the time he gives me the ick. But that one in particular, I was like, well, that was kind of cute, I guess. And I also laughed at him. There was something else in Party City. I remembered all his funny scenes because I liked them. When she was like, there's nothing fun in your shopping cart, he said, these plates are covered in glitter. And I was like, okay, that's funny. Like when it's like funny, like I can get on board, but
That's good headspace, Conrad. That's who he is
how long
naturally.
is that gonna last? Like you can't ever bet on that. Like it's exhausting.
After he gets help.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna wait.
sometimes help doesn't always like, I mean,
I'm not gonna sit around and wait for that to happen.
I am.
no.
So Steven, though, is one who he's funny all the time. Like all the time. I love the scene with when they showed up to volleyball camp. First of all, I'm a volleyball coach, so this volleyball stuff that wasn't as heavy in the books makes me very happy.
Yes.
Makes
I
me
like it
very,
better.
very happy. I just every time they're playing volleyball, like, ooh, okay. When Jeremiah was like, well, you could stay and watch your girl too.
He's like, well, first, what Taylor said, first of all, I'm no one's girl but my own. And she's like, we're not that couple. I was low-key hoping like he was gonna say that, but then I was like, no, you're right. Like you're not that couple, and that's okay that you're not that couple.
Well,
like,
see, when he was saying no, I thought he was saying no to Taylor. Like, no, we are that couple. That's what I thought he was saying at first until he shoved her in the forehead and said, I'll see you later.
I mean,
I'm sorry, when he showed up to the restaurant with those roses.
As soon as he had those roses, I knew it in my head. I
didn't.
That bitches need roses too. Like that's exactly because I loved it when she said that because I was like, yes, Taylor, they do. But then when he said they're for my bitch, she was like, what?
The whole table, the girls were like, what?
Excuse me?
But I love that Taylor got it and she still laughed and thought it was cute because she understood what he meant.
And she defended him to the girls.
Yes.
Yes.
As soon as he said that, I was like, dude, I know where you're going with that, but you have to kind of plan it out next time because that just came out very, very bad.
I mean, Steven, I don't know, they were just great together. I think everything about them, from him trying to impress in the beginning of the series, like doing the crowd surfing or trying to whatever.
That was so embarrassing.
I mean, I was like, oh my god, no.
When he got up there and started stripping his shirt off, I was like, oh no.
That's the line of the song where he's like, I've seen him with his shirt off.
He said, he said you jumped off the stage and kicked your fam in the face. Like, I mean, I've listened to this song.
You have to listen.
You gotta listen to all the words.
It's so funny.
I heard that line. I was like, when did he kick somebody in the face? But now
we need to insert that scene here on this podcast for everybody to jam out to getting even with Steven.
That was a brilliant line there. Good job, Milo. That was funny.
I mean, finally, I was like, why? I mean, me and Elena both were sitting there. I was like, why is this beat kind of good, actually?
I was jamming to it a little bit too.
He was.
It was clever lyrics. I mean, it was actually good.
Very on the show mentioned it. They're like, it's pretty good. So to talk about the graduation before we skip it up,
that was a fun way to say it.
I don't know. I felt like I was more mad at Belly, how she was acting versus Steven.
Yeah.
But
Steven said one mean thing to her, but the rest of the time she was being an idiot.
Well, she kept pushing. Pushing and pushing and pushing. He's gonna eventually explode because he's hurting too, but he's just trying to have one night of just not thinking about it and drinking, and I'm sorry, but kind of just forgetting about this awful thing that you just went through. So I was really disappointed in Belly and how she acted. At the same time, it's okay for her to act like that too, because she's going through the same things, and that's how she is making the outlet. I don't know. I did not like how Belly's handled that situation really, when she was supposed to be his driver.
She left him there. Yeah.
And then she left him, and I was like, the only thing in my head was, how is he getting home now?
But
will he be responsible?
Yeah.
But it also did give us that great car scene.
Him riding home in the back with Milo and Taylor. Yeah, it was great.
I'm sorry, when the first time, because I rewatched episode 1 today to kind of remember where it started.
Yeah.
And when his head just pops up out of that back seat, you're like, oh, he's there.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know. The whole really, Steven Staler was just it was by far the best part of this season, in my opinion. I would have loved to have seen more of them. Because I mean, it's the one thing we all agree
That
they're
last
perfect.
episode where she kisses him against the car and how he, oh
I
my
said, what is
gosh,
it
that
with
was
these
hot.
cars, people? Like
That was a
everybody-
better kiss than choking Belly out.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was still good. Did you see the TikTok though where he said like it was Jenny Han where he said like I felt like a Disney princess when the
Yes.
leg popped up there. I was like, oh god, he's so cute.
You guys are gonna disagree with me here, but what I absolutely loved about that is they weren't really kissing. I loved that, but it looked like it from the other side.
Yeah, that's well
because their face was like this, and his lips were like right here, and hers were right here. So they were. She just tilted her head, so they weren't actually like making out. I like that as actors. I mean, I have to imagine that's difficult to make out with everybody all the time. So
probably.
And how many scenes was that to do?
Yeah.
Because they have to do it
over and over
and
again.
over
Yeah.
and over.
Even Shelby, my 7-year-old, okay, like she was like, what are you saying? She's like, what's the summer term pretty? I said, with the brothers. What brothers? I said, remember with Conrad and Jeremiah? She said, oh, Jeremiah, he's the one with those blue eyes. Like even my 7-year-old recognized, although she likes Steven. She gets real giddy when Steven comes on the screen. He's her guy. So
I love while we're jumping back a little bit. Oh, I know we keep going off of Steven and Taylor to go back up to Jeremiah and Conrad. But when Conrad's packing up his room and his roommate's like, I thought I felt a little vibe between them. I mean, how could you? He's beautiful. How could you not know? Oh, you know him. You've seen him. He's your brother. Those eyes.
You've seen his eyes? Billie Eilish wrote a song about those.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, talking about ocean blue eyes. That's what I was joking too. I'm pretty sure my daughter was listening to that song today, and I'm like, I've never heard her listen to that before, but now she's all about some ocean blue eyes.
So to get back onto Steven and Taylor, we're gonna bounce back to Jeremiah and Conrad a million other times. But I think Steven's biggest flex this whole season, it was my favorite Steven scene, is when she asked Milo what her middle name was. And Steven is the one who answered. It was like, oh, that's good. It was Mackenzie, right?
No,
Madison. Yeah.
But the way he looked back at him and he said that, I was like, oh, that was a good move. That was nice.
I love that she heard him too. You remembered my middle name. I was like,
like that scene was already really adorable with that whole dance, just because it was light and funny, and the fact that he had it memorized, like that was cute. But then afterwards, one of my favorite things for like in these shows when someone's professing their love, or as he said, deep like, because he wouldn't say that it was love, is when they say that you are my favorite person. And that is what he told her, because that is something, I know you don't watch Jenny and Georgia, but that is something else that Marcus tells like Jenny, you are my favorite person. I love it when that is a line used, because there's so much power behind even like saying I love you. Like you can love lots of people, but for you to say you are my favorite person, I mean, that's you are number one in their eyes. And I think that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing I feel like I dislike about Taylor at this point in time.
Other than I got nervous when we found out that they were on like that she's Team Jellyfish and he's Team Bonrad, and they were fighting over it. And I was like, oh no, like these ships have already driven a lot of people apart. They cannot drive Steven and Taylor apart because this will really hurt me. But they handled it. They got over it.
And the fight wasn't even so much about Bonrad or Jellyfish. It was about her fear.
Yes.
I think that needed to be done and said, though.
If you are listening to this, know that we can attest to this as adult women. That relationship is how you have healthy communication in a relationship.
Yes.
Just would like to point that out to everybody who's watching this.
Yeah, you talk through when you're having, even Taylor, she had a moment there and like she kind of acted silly, but very quickly did she apologize for like the way she reacted, and she talked about her feelings and said what she was thinking. That is what we do. We all have bad moments. Like no one's faulting Conrad for like having bad moments. We just need Conrad to recognize and make up for these moments.
And we also need Jeremiah to not pretend like things don't bother him, because that's not healthy either.
It's not. I agree with that. So yeah, Taylor for the win.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And the other thing that made me laugh was when he was listening to that diss track by Milo, when he was saying how he landed it. Or no, it was when he was in the diner with the girls. And they were saying how they heard that he had punched him in the face. And he was like, what? That's not even true. He didn't land on me.
I know. Well, what was it? Even when he's listening to the track and he's like mocking the rap and he's like yo 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 or whatever, like I'm telling you what, Sean is probably like one of my favorite people on the show because he's so funny too. Like I think it's naturally funny. It just comes like I just imagine that he ad libs a lot of stuff. Like
apparently a lot of them do.
I was gonna say I imagine him and Rain both probably. They just seem like that type that just kind of roll with the scene and see what happens. So
apparently Jeremiah and Conrad
do
both
they also
ad lib
I
a
love
whole
that.
bunch. Conrad more than Gavin.
That car
Chris more than
scene.
Gavin.
Chris
Yeah, the
said
car
that he was
scene
ad
when he was
libbing.
sassy.
He said he was ad libbing for every take, and he was like, "Yeah." And I think Jeremiah got a little over it, and Jeremiah's like, "Yeah, I got mad a few times because he just kept going."
Oh my god, then why is he actually Paul
So he
Wesley?
just kept going. He kept going.
He said it was
I
really
know,
hard to
that's
get
what I'm
into that
saying.
headspace. So once he was in that headspace, he just had to stay there.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think that he actually is like Paul Wesley. And if you guys have ever seen interviews with Gavin, Gavin is so much like Ian
I think he
Somerhalder.
is.
Like it's wild.
Yeah,
but
he's really
parallel.
sweet and caring
He's
and
sweet and just
hot,
like cares about the
you know.
environment and just all of this really like nurturing like I don't know.
So speaking of the Conklins, Laurel is another one. I can't tell if I like her better. I was talking to Jeanette about this a little bit. I can't tell if I like her better in the books or the show. I don't really remember
show.
because they mesh together
Show.
for me.
Show.
So I think in the show, but there's pieces in the show that she does, and I'm like, oh, dude, come on. But then there's also
she was so much worse in the books.
She's so cold in the books. Like whereas like in the show, and I think it's just because it's visual, in that she's still cold in the show, but like we can see like emotion behind it. And like I think that's where
true.
shows can be different. And one of my favorite things about Laurel is something didn't happen in the books. And it's that conversation that she had when Belly calls her and asks her about like her dad, how did you know that you weren't in love anymore? And I think that was really wise advice, that when she says, you know, you have to think about, are you remembering what you used to have, or are you looking forward to what you could have? And I think that's really wise advice. And I think it's what's led. I also think it's an interesting thing to put in the show, because anyone who's read the books knows that, I mean, I feel like they don't come out and say it, but Laurel in the books is very much Team Conrad. Like she's appalled, not even going to come to the wedding at the thought of Jeremiah and Belly getting married. But then,
but I don't think that has to do with that it's Jeremiah and Belly. I think it has to do with the fact that they're young.
The thing is though, like, I mean, we talked about Belly getting married. She ends up getting married to Conrad just a few years later. Like, it's still not been this long. Like, I think she's very much Team Conrad. I think it is like whatever. So the fact that she says that, it just makes me wonder the path we're taking. Like I said, I still think our end game is the same. I still think we're going to get to the same place, but it's just interesting to me to throw that line in that makes Laurel seem like she's saying, like, you don't have to like choose this fantasy version that you're thinking about. Like, you can like, I don't know.
I mostly really loved Laurel this season. Mostly. There was one particular scene that really bothered me, and that was when her daughter calls her. Obviously her daughter's drunk. She calls her, she's upset. It's like, Mommy, you need to come help me, I need you. And Laurel's go-to as soon as she gets there is to lay into her for drinking and lying to her. I'm like, yes, let's talk about that later, but can we visit the part where your daughter called you crying and said that she needs you? Can we just take care of that part first?
See, I wonder why they did this so different in the book and the show.
The book, this situation was handled much better in the book, I think.
So much better in the book. And it really disappointed me how they did it in the show, because in the book, she answered and they had a conversation and she told her this stuff. And I felt like that was better because she was able to communicate with Belly back and forth. Like, I think you're with the boys, you're safe. You know, she was still mad about her going, but it was much calmer. And in the book, she already knew that the house was for sale. She knew what was going on.
Yeah.
She still had the talk with Adam or whatever. That still all happened, but she had known about it. So I wish they would have actually done that in the show, how they did in the books. I felt like it was handled more like Laurel would handle something.
Yeah.
Not like she flipped out
But I think the reason she flipped out, and I mean, because I'm just trying to think about it from her perspective, is because it was a voicemail and because it was her trying to call back and I couldn't get a hold of her. So she's probably spent hours driving in the middle of the night, terrified of what is happening to my child right
Worst
now.
case scenario.
And so then you're already hyped up with all of your bad energy that I think that then exploded. Because I have to admit, I mean, I've been there. If you get me hyped up with bad energy, I'm gonna react completely incorrectly with my
Same.
children. And then it takes
Same.
me a few
Yeah.
minutes, just like it did with Laurel, and I'm gonna sit down on the steps and be like, look, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I did it that way.
But with
Yeah.
Laurel, the biggest problem I had was when she came at Belly and said, I'm angry at you for what you did at the funeral. Like,
Yeah.
I get that you're sad. I get that you said things that you probably
Yeah.
didn't mean in that moment, but I think that she was saying what she really felt and how awful for this girl who was
Yeah.
losing a second. Oh, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
Susanna in this, you guys are gonna have to take the lead on that because she did me in this season. It was really, really difficult. But Belly lost this girl who we see in this season when the piece that Laurel reads from her book about how Susanna was there when she gave birth and she said, here's our special girl. Like,
Yeah.
this is who Susanna remained to Belly her entire life. So for you to come at her and tell her how she ruined Susanna's funeral for you was just awful. Awful.
It was, and I was mad too. And
I still get why she did it, but it was awful.
Just
It was
to play
mean.
the devil's advocate for a second. I think another key moment of like her talking about her book that explains that is how she says that she felt like Susanna was her soulmate. And so I think Laurel is just hurting so badly. And she has lost her soulmate, her best friend, her sister, essentially. I mean, I think she just really messed up in that scene. And I think she knows it. And I think that's why I forgive her, because I think she makes up for it. Because I think she tells Belly and she basically like admits her. And then later on, I don't know. I think she makes up for her wrongdoing. So but I was mad at first. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm like, girl, calm down. Like, this is not what she needs right now.
I can't wait to see you say that same thing about Conrad.
Well, if they show me that, but they've yet to show it. And they yet to let me read it either. So just saying.
Well, I think with her, the standard, yes, she's allowed to grieve. She's allowed to grieve how she needs to. She has, and this is the other reason why I think the book handled it so much better, because in the book, we see that Laurel has been a shell for the entire time. From funeral on, Laurel has been a shell, non-functioning. Belly has to leave food for her so she can remember to eat. And so she's become this other person. So when she comes to the beach house, she's angry, and she does not hide that she's angry, but she doesn't. She's been, it's like she's been woken up, and she's actually feeling these things again. And that's why the anger comes out the way it comes out, because she's been woken up in fear of from her, what her daughter just called her in the middle of the night saying to her. But in the book, the way she reacts, or in the show, the way she reacts, how she's been woken up, she tries to hurt Belly. Like, she actively tries to hurt Belly with the things that she says. And I don't want to say it as your parent, you're not allowed to do that, because we all screw up and we do. I've probably hurt my kids quite a bit. I mean, I sat outside a grocery store when my daughter sobbed and cried and said she hates it when I yell. And I'm like, oh God, okay. So I'm screwing up. I get it. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better. So I get that. But to actively try to hurt your kid because you're angry is like, that's a level of messed up that I didn't expect from Laurel based on the character she's been.
Like, speaking of Susanna, can we jump into Susanna? I
wasn't prepared for like as sad as those last couple episodes were. I mean,
I was kind of excited that like when we jumped into season 2 that she had already passed. I was like, whew.
Yeah, we don't have to see it, but
it's not going to be so bad, because I was like dreading seeing it all happen. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be horrible, because we all love Susanna.
Yeah.
But then when they started doing the flashbacks, and we were having to be forced to
look, I was okay with all the flashbacks until it was the last one. And I feel like the last one was unnecessary. The only reason it was in there was to show her mixing up the envelopes to lead up to that. That's the only reason it was there. And we didn't have to do that. We could have just said that somehow. Like, I don't know. It was really sad. I mean, I will say, I feel bad like having anything bad to say about Susanna. What I don't like is her words to Belly at the end about take care of Conrad, because I think that her reaction to Belly and Conrad have always been I think a lot of the issues, which is why Belly is so confused, because I think it's been drilled into this little child's head that she's going to end up with one of these boys for her whole life. And that's a little messed up, if we're being honest. I mean, I love Susanna and I don't want to say anything bad about her, but that's a little messed up. And even at the end, I mean, say take care of him, that shouldn't necessarily be on her to take.
It's a lot of pressure.
Like you could say, like, look out for him. Like, I mean, there's a different way to say that than take care of him for me.
I think we only see her saying that because of what's going to be the outcome.
Yeah, but I think it's just a lot. I don't know. I didn't care for it, to be honest.
I didn't really either. Honest, and I'm Team Conrad, but I didn't really either because I felt like it was when Belly's trying to choose what's best for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's thinking of Susanna's words of, "I promise to take care of Conrad."
Right, and
I promise
Conrad's
to watch
hurt
over
her at
Conrad.
this point. Like,
so
she shouldn't have to take care of him when he's hurt her so badly.
I think they show that better in the books too than they do in the show, because in the show I don't
Yes.
see her thinking about Suzanne's words.
yeah, same.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But in the
She
book,
doesn't.
she brings that back up a couple different times in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely affects her a lot in the book. It
No,
definitely does.
I'm gonna go dark for a minute here. obviously I'm not dead, and we believe my cancer is gone, but I thought I was gonna die there for a bit, and this is why the show wrecks me with Susanna. Like, I can handle any of it until I get to Susanna, but I had gotten sick again recently, and I thought my cancer was back, and so I started to think through all the things that I would say to my kids. So I get why she said that, and I don't think it was love him, be romantic with him. She recognized, and it was more about Conrad than it was about Belly, which was kind of unfair, but Conrad is her son. That's her kid, and he's broken, and she can see him deteriorating, and she knows him well enough to know how he feels about Belly and how he is going to need Belly to pull him out of a hole. Yeah. So I don't even think it was be romantic with him, stay in love with him. I think it was take care of my baby because you're the only one who he'll listen to. You're the only one who can pull him out. And I had those thoughts about my kids. I had to start thinking about, what would I tell my kids if I'm dying? What am I going to say to them? How do I make sure that they're okay when I'm gone? And so that's why this has been hard for me with Susanna, but I think that's what she was doing. So I totally, from a motherly perspective, 1000% got what she was saying there and what she was doing there. And you could tell it was hard for her to say it. And even when she was trying to tell Belly that she loved her, the way in the actress, props to that actress, because the way she was like opening and closing her mouth behind her while she was crying before she said, "I love you, Belly." Like that was just, that she knew what she was putting on her, but she couldn't, that was her last thing that she could do as a mother before she knew she was going to die. It was a certain fact she was dying, and that was all she could do. And I think part of her knew that this was going to affect Belly, but she felt she didn't have another choice. Stay tuned for part 2 of our The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 2 review.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.